welcome back to Eldritch Girl. Do excuse my voice, it's a bit scratchy, but I just want to let you know that we are starting a new season soon. That is going to be based on the challenge 100 horror movies in 92 days. I may have some bonus episodes where I talk about fiction in book form as well, but by and large, this is going to be a film season. So I hope you enjoy it. We're going to kick off with my sort of look back on the 4 years that I've been doing the 100 horror movies in 92 days challenge. 4 years, 467 films, which is quite an achievement, I think. I've been doing it for a few years now, obviously 4, and I've been really enjoying it, so I'm definitely going to do it this year, but this year is the first year that I'm going to do it with a podcast accompaniment. The challenge itself was started by gastro horror aficionado Sarah Stubbs. You can find her on Letterboxd at Spooky Sarah Says. And the rules are to watch 100 new to you feature films labelled as horror on either Letterboxd or IMDb. And you can waive that rule a little bit if you think a film should be classed as horror but is not classed as horror. For example, I counted Crash by David Cronenberg as a horror film in one of my challenges. I think I have a fairly good argument as to why it should be horror, but on IMDb it's classed as psychological drama or a thriller, and it's a thriller and drama on Letterboxd, but not horror. So technically it shouldn't count under the rules of the challenge, but I think it should, because it does have the affect of horror. And as things progress, things get progressively horrifying. And there is the sort of Cronenbergian body horror fascination as well. So I think there's a lot of things there that should make it count as psychological horror as well, or erotic horror as well. So that's one example. Documentaries on horror are also allowed, as are horror anthology films. The challenge begins on the 1st of August and ends on Halloween, the 31st of October. Hence the name of the challenge, 100 horror films in 92 days. So the idea is that you obviously try and get to 100 or watch basically as many as you can. You can go over 100 as well. And I've discovered so many films as a result of this challenge, but I'm aware of watching quite a lot I don't rate very highly or don't really enjoy, just to get my count up. So as a result of that, I've started being more intentional with my lists and trying to save up films to watch for the challenge that I think I'm going to really like. So the most unexpected find, because I often go in cold to a lot of these, was Fangs 1981, which is an Egyptian remake of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. But instead of rampaging queers in New England somewhere, it's vampires in Egypt led by Count Dracula, and the film takes a bite out of Egyptian capitalism. The music is mostly the same, but the lyrics are changed to reflect the plot changes, and obviously it's in Arabic. The funniest horror film I think I've seen is Boys from County Hell 2020, which is an Irish horror film, and again vampire themed. Had me screaming with laughter every 5 minutes, so that takes the cake here. A very close second is a single line from a Pat Higgins film called Killer Killer, which was delivered just as I was drinking a glass of water, and it was one of those lines that you just weren't expecting to happen, and I just couldn't swallow because I needed to laugh, and I couldn't spit the water out because I was watching on my laptop, which was right in front of me, so I literally nearly drowned in my own living room. Yeah, my all-time favourite comfort film is one that I found as a result of this challenge. It is, of course, The Torture Chamber of Dr. Sadism. I love everything about it, from the ridiculous plot to the wholly inappropriate 1960s lounge jazz soundtrack, which kind of goes do 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 do, like, and does that on repeat as a riff while you're going through this really like desolate moorland on the way to a really spooky castle. I loved it, and I love that the two side characters that I shipped got together at the end, how bonkers the castle situation is. I love how Sir Christopher Lee really tries to bring gravitas to the role of Count Regular as opposed to Count Dracula. And just how fun it is in general. It's just got so many great moments. The original German title is The Pit and the Pendulum, which makes so much more sense. That's kind of because there is, in fact, a pendulum, and like, you know, I think it was meant to be something like that, but they just went wild with it. Anyway, yeah, so that's my favourite comfort film that's come out of this challenge. The scariest film that I've seen is Terrified, Aterrados, which is an Argentinian film that really freaked me out the first time I watched it. Like, I can't tell you how freaked out I was. It really stuck with me. I was scared to look under my bed. Oh my God. Yeah, so I'm going to go with that one. And it stood up to a second watch as well. I haven't seen a film that makes me want to sleep with the lights on for a very long time, and that one definitely did that. The most surreal film, like the weirdest one, The Strange Colour of My Body's Tears, which is a Belgian film. I think it's actually surrealist, so that would explain that. I'm going to go with that one, and I've got a list of the weirdest films that I'm going to give you in a minute. Those are kind of like the top ones for me. The top 10 weirdest films, like with a capital W, or like the most experimental films that I've seen out of the 467 films that I've logged, would be as follows. Ennis Men. Oh my God, what was that? That is so experimental, and I know it's not for everybody. I did not hate it. I cannot say that I liked it. I felt like I was watching like a kaleidoscope fever dream experience, you know, like it was a very interesting thing to watch. Like it was an interesting experience to have, and I think it's much more of an experience rather than a film. If you've seen it, let me know what you think. I haven't seen it again. It's not one that I would rewatch, I think. I mean, I might rewatch it out of curiosity and think, oh, well, you know, will I get something out of it the second time that I didn't get the first time? If you have rewatched it, is that your experience? I'd like to know. The Strange Colour of Your Body's Tears, 100% surreal, weird, mystery, horror, drama, not sure what that is. So much going on, there's so much symbolism. There's such a lot of stuff to do with colour as well I was picking up on, but I don't have a film studies background, and I don't know anything about Belgian cinema, and I don't know anything about surrealism. So I was like, there's stuff here that if I was better versed, I would be able to pick up what this is or what they're doing, but I can't. And so I think parts of that film really were, I don't know, like locked away for me in a way. I don't know, but I appreciated it. I think I did like that one. Luz, the Flower of Evil. I don't actually know how to pronounce it. Luz is the original title, so like Luz, the Flower of Evil is the English title. That one was very weird. I think it is Colombian. Yeah, it's Colombian. So this is the first, I think, Colombian film that I've ever watched. I don't know if it was a very good introduction to Colombian filmmaking. It's very odd. Again, it's like a kind of fever dream compilation type thing where you've got this isolated community in the mountains led by a preacher known as El Señor. He has a presumed new messiah, which is a small boy who is blonde, like an Aryan child, I guess. And he has him locked up in a pen. And his daughter falls in love with somebody. She gets pregnant. There is a graphic miscarriage, birth, stillbirth scene. I can't remember it, but it was really visceral, like the whole thing. There's a whole lot of like body horror and visceral stuff. There's like so many shots of the gorgeous scenery contrasted with like this violent, brutal human reality. Yeah, it's a, I don't know, what do people think of that one? That stuck with me. There's an Argentinian film called Murder Me Monster, which is another really weird one. That one I did not like as much. That one fell really flat for me. Again, if you liked it, let me know why. That one has the really weird genitalia monster in it. Not to spoil it for anyone, but that is the monster of the title. And I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that, honestly. Number 5, I would say, is Skinamarink. That was also incredibly weird. I know that it's not for everybody. I know a lot of people who just didn't like it, thought it was really boring, thought nothing happened. Or I also know people who thought it was the scariest film they've ever seen. I was somewhere in the middle. I really didn't like it because it made me feel really uncomfortable, which is what it was supposed to do. It's not a film that I would rewatch. I think it is a good film, like objectively a good film, in that it achieved what it was set out to do for me. At least, anyway. Yeah, I don't know. That was definitely one of the weirdest. The Outwaters, again, I know people hate this one. I know people who really like it. The Outwaters, for me, is because it's so chaotic towards the end and so, like, weird and fucked up. Like, it's the upper limit of what I can cope with in terms of body horror. Not because it's so bad or so like gory, but because of the chaos that comes with it, and I don't like chaos at all. And it's, yeah, like there's like castration and all sorts of shit, and I'm like, oh my god, no. And it also messes with your sense of time and warps your reality as well when you're watching it. Like you're not sure, the characters are not sure what's real, they're not sure what they're seeing, they're not sure if they can see themselves, they're not sure if they're stuck in like is it like a time warp or something? I have no idea. Like, it's just very, that kind of the sense of the desert that's warping your sense of reality and space and time. Yeah, that one is very, very odd. Dr. Caligari, 1989, so not the German Expressionist one, and it's nothing to do with the German Expressionist one really, was definitely weird. It's not for me at all. I didn't like it. It's, I don't know what it is. Like, it's this very kind of sexed up American take on, sort of like a feminist asylum type thing, but it's very 1980s, very weird. It's been so long since I've seen it as well now, like a good few years, that I can't even remember what it was supposed to be doing. And I'm not sure if it achieved that. I'm not sure what it was doing. Maybe you love it. Maybe it's like your seminal film. I don't know. Like, let me know what you think of that one for sure, because I'd like to know other perspectives on films that I've seen. Men is number 8. And again, like that goes very surreal at the end, and it's sort of, men begetting men who are all the same. And yeah, I get it, mate, thanks. I liked it. I didn't mind it. I wouldn't necessarily rewatch it again. Like, I think it's just one of those films that I appreciated, but yeah, definitely on my list of the top 10 weirdest films that I've seen. Number 9, I would definitely rewatch The Unburied, another Argentinian film. I want to rewatch this just to be like, what on earth did I see like the first time around? Like, I get it, I get the story, I get that you're not supposed to know what's going on, I get that there are monsters or potential monsters or like fucked up human hybrid creatures from whatever they're doing in this kind of cellar situation. Yeah, fine, like I get that, and I really liked it as a concept. I thought it was so messed up. I really enjoyed the messed up dynamics of it. Yeah, it was just something that I appreciated as a film. Yeah, I would watch that one again. At number 10, All You Need Is Death, which is another Irish horror, folk horror. This one focuses on folk music. Again, that gets very, very weird. I know that that doesn't work for a lot of people in terms of the gender stuff that happens, and kind of gender fluidity of, I don't know, like, yeah, there was, I don't want to give anything away, but like, yeah, like, I think I see what was going on. I think I get the transformation kind of side of it. It's quite, I thought it was quite a good film. It's really well made. It's very well acted. There were bits that I thought could be fleshed out. But overall, I think this is one that I would rewatch. But again, definitely up there on my top 10 weirdest films that I've ever seen, which is a compliment. Runners up of my top 10 include Shepherd, Azrael, with Samara Weaving, A Wounded Fawn. I really don't like head trauma, so that one was, again, very close to my limit of what I can watch. A German film called Hotel, which is very weird, very bleak, very question mark, question mark, question mark. You're not really sure what's going on, very ambiguous. Hollow is a British indie film from 2011, directed by Michael Axelgard. So that's kind of like, there's a weird tree and an old monastery in a remote village that has a dark spirit that wills young couples to kill themselves. And then four friends go on holiday and they explore the local folklore, and then things happen. That's very odd, but it's not quite top 10 odd. Hagazusa is another runner-up. Very, 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 very bleak. Rampo Noir, that was also, I mean, as you can imagine, just very weird. But again, not top 10 weird exactly. The Icelandic film Rift is also very weird. I would recommend that one. There's a lot of flashbacks and timey-wimey stuff, and some sort of psychological drama and all sorts. Suspiria, I think, as well, the original and the remake. Those are both quite weird, but not top 10 weird. And Older Gods, which again is an indie film set in Wales this time, and that is, a guy who uncovers a cult that is trying to raise Lovecraftian gods or elder gods. That is also incredibly weird. There's some really nice imagery in that, and I've seen it a couple of times. So those are my runners up. Top 10 most depressing films, or the most upsetting films that I've seen, because I have made some poor choices for my emotional state while watching new to me films completely cold. Not exactly the best idea sometimes. Some of these were technically great films, but they depressed the fuck out of me. Some just really upset me. Some did both. Some of these are on the list because they have, I would give them trigger warnings for rape, graphic miscarriage, stillbirth, or child abuse, including CSA. Some are on the list for being the upper limit of my body horror that I can cope with, or just for being really gnarly in ways that I can't really explain. And some just made me really sad. So the top 10 ones, Gwen, oh my god. Set in North Wales in Welsh, about the destruction of, sort of a traditional way of life in a rural community. in the Industrial Revolution, and kind of patriarchy triumphing over matriarchy, which is the sort of more traditional way of living in Wales, I guess. And it's all about class and capitalism and ownership over responsibility. And it just made me so sad. That has a trigger warning for rape as well. The Outwaters is on there because of the body horror thing and the chaotic people losing their minds part at the end. Hargazusa at number 3, the bleakest shit I've ever seen. She also gets raped, so trigger warning for that. There's just so much of that going on, and like all the betrayal, and I don't know, just living in the Swiss Alps, or Austrian Alps, or wherever she is, just seems really grim. The Devil's Bath, oh my god, that is literally just a film about depression, and at the end, like, I was just like hoping that she would die. Like, it's like the worst thing that could happen to this woman is that somebody goes, oh no, you're okay, like we'll just we'll let you live. Yeah, but just that was just so incredibly sad. Number 5, Psalm 21. That one's got a trigger warning for CSA. Number 6, Silent House. Also trigger warning for CSA. Number 7, Senuntunchi. Again, trigger warning for rape. Just, again, very, very bleak. Very alpine. Number 8, Possum. Again, trigger warning for child sexual abuse. Number 9, Tigers Are Not Afraid. Oh my god, that is heartbreaking. I love that film, but I can't watch it very often. It's a Mexican film. It is really like heart-wrenching. And number 10, Lutz, Flower of Evil, which I mentioned above. Runners-up include Dan Gildark's 2010 Cthulhu, which is like a gay protagonist. Again, trigger warning for rape. It's also a tragedy. It's also just, again, quite grim. Carmilla, pretty much any version of Carmilla that I've seen, to be honest, because none of them end particularly well. But in this case, I'm talking about Emily Harris's 2019 version of Carmilla, where the vampire thing is implied. It is not explicit. So when the ending comes, which is the same as the ending of the Le Fanu story, it's like, okay, oh right, yeah, okay, that we're just, yeah, all right. So that's it's just very, very bleak. Halloween Kills, very, very bleak ending. That one just made me go, ugh, you know. Smile, again, that's a one about trauma and kind of the triumph of trauma. I know a lot of people think that that's a very important thing, and I agree, but also I literally lost a friend to that film, so no, fuck off. Eden Lake, again, fuck that. That's, you know, a bunch of let's just demonise the working class, shall we? And sure, we can do that, but I didn't like the way the director was like, oh, you know, if we made it public schoolboys, it wouldn't be scary. I'm like, yes, it fucking would. It would be just as scary if it was public schoolboys, and it might even be worse, because they're also in a position of relative power over the protagonists in terms of who their parents are, especially if they're moneyed. Whereas in Eden Lake, the protagonists are beset by lower class kids. So they're middle class, these kids are working class, and so are their families. And it's like, oh, yeah, I don't know, fuck that, man. The Medium, oh, that was sad. I would watch The Medium again. That's a Thai film, I think, and it was just really good. So that's a kind of Thai story about shamanism, and about possession, but it's also just a really interesting story and exploration of faith and traditional faith in the modern world, and the loss of faith, And it's just, I found it very, very moving. Rita, that was incredibly sad. I would watch that again. I don't think I would watch it soon, but I would definitely rewatch it at some point. Dearest Sister was messed up. That's from Laos. That one, yeah, I would not watch that again soon, but I thought it was a really good film. My Heart Can't Beat Unless You Tell It To, which is a US made film. That's kind of a vampirism one and messed up families and everything. Again, that's not one I would rewatch in a hurry, but it is one that I enjoyed. And Things Heard and Seen, which has Amanda Seyfried in it. And that one is also about eating disorders and patriarchy and unhappy marriages. And that one again was a really good film, a competent film, a really well made film, but it's not a film that I would rewatch. The 10 scariest films that I've seen, or the creepiest ones that I've seen, yeah, it's not often that I watch films that really freak me out, but these top 10 definitely made me feel some aspect or affect of horror. Like they, maybe frightened or feel sick or like, yeah, just really messed with my head in some way. Terrified, Aterrados, Argentinian film, that's my top one. Terrifier, because of the gore and like the Art the Clown and that. I haven't watched the others. I thought the first one was fine, but it's not a franchise that I'm particularly interested in. I don't like that in terms of horror. I'm not interested in torture porn. I know what it's trying to say, like I get some of the, I understand things like Hostel and, that the kind of capitalism critique and all of that kind of stuff. I get that. But it's just not for me to watch. I don't find it an enjoyable experience. If I don't find it an enjoyable experience, I'm not going to watch it. The Outwaters, I will never watch that again. I did not find that an enjoyable experience. But it's on my top 10. Skinamarink, again, I would not rewatch that, but that definitely did what it was meant to do, I think, for me. Smile, that did freak me out a bit, and I wouldn't watch it again, but again, that messed one of my friends up really badly, so he stopped speaking to me because he decided, oh, well, there we go, trauma always wins, therefore I don't have to do anything about it. So what's the point? What's the point of me even trying? And I was like, I don't think that's really something to take away from the film, but, that's what he took away, and then he stopped talking to me. So, yeah, okay, fuck that film, I guess. Personally, no. The Collector, I really like the Collector franchise. I love the second one, I think the best, The Collection. But the Collector, because of all the traps and various things, that's kind of the upper limit of what I can cope with. Some of the kills are really funny, some are really good. I did not like the cat incident, and I found, but it was funny when the cat went through the window, but I didn't like the torture of the cat. But yeah, there was, other bits and pieces that just got me about that one. So that's number 6. Number 7 is a Spanish film that's a Spanish-made film that's set in Albania called The Invocation of Enver Samaku. That's an odd one. That did freak me out a bit, actually, in my first watch of it. And I have rewatched it since then, and I don't think it's as scary the second time around or as creepy the second time around because you know what's coming. But it is an interesting film. But I don't know anything about what it's talking about. I don't know anything about Albanian history, really. So I don't know. I found it really interesting, but I think there are bits of it that I just didn't get. And maybe if I did know more about the history and know more about some of the folklore and some of the stuff they're talking about, that would have been a different experience to me. Men is number 8. Again, I think that's both weird and also very, very freaky. Like, it just kind of creeped me. There were bits of it that really freaked me out. because men on their own are just creepy. Just a town full of really creepy men. Like, oh my god. Incantation, Taiwanese film. Absolutely loved that one. That really scared me. There were bits of it that really freaked me out. I loved it. I loved the reveal. I just loved everything about it. And number 10 is The Ugly Stepsister, which, again, upper limit of body tolerance. I hate parasites with an absolute passion. And the fact that you would willingly ingest one to be thin made me so ill. And then what it did, and like how she got rid of it, then I was like nearly sick. That was horrendous. So that's definitely top 10 of the like the ones that freaked me out the most. Runners up include the amazing Under the Shadow, which I really enjoyed, set during the Iran-Iraq War. Dabe 4, The Possession, which is a Turkish horror. Really like that one. That first watch was great, and it stands up to rewatches as well. Talk to Me, great Australian film that creeped me out in many, many ways. Queen of Black Magic, Indonesian film. Fucking centipedes everywhere. Absolutely the fuck not. Grave Torture, another Indonesian film. There are moments of that I was like, oh my god, no. Like, you know what's going to happen with certain scenes because you know there's this build up and you're like, oh no, and then it happens and you're like, it's as bad as I feared. Yeah, The Medium, again, there were bits of that really, really got me, but it's not top 10. And Oddity, loved Oddity. My first watch, I was like, oh my god, this is so tense and so creepy. And then, you know, you get into it and it stands up to rewatches, but you know, I don't find it as creepy the second time, I guess, because I knew what was coming, but it was just a really enjoyable film. So I've done it for 4 years, and I've tried to pick 10 films, my favourite 10, for various reasons, from 2022, 2023, 2024 and 2025. I can't pick my favourite from all of those years because that's just way too hard, but I'll give you them in order of release. So from the 100 films that I watched to the 2022 challenge, my top 10 films, I think, are Suspiria, 1977. I can't believe that I hadn't seen that until 2022. That's mental. Split Second, 1992, horror sci-fi. Again, where have I been? Like under a rock? Starship Troopers, 1997. How have I not seen that until 2022? The Collection, 2012. That was my first time. The Midnight Man, 2016. That's one with Robert Englund. Really like that one, actually. It was quite fun. Like, I just had fun with it. Aramentari, The Blacksmith and the Devil, 2017. That one's a Basque film. Loved that. So good. I've rewatched that multiple times since the challenge. One Must Fall, 2018. I've really enjoyed that. Loved the premise. Yeah, just loved the main character so much. I thought that was such a great film. I had a really good time with that. Tumbad, 2018. Tumbad is Indian film that is like kind of Indian Gothic, Hindu fantasy, I guess. Really enjoyable. The Binding, which is an Italian ghost story, 2020. It's kind of like a folk horror as well. I like the vibes of it. I like the aesthetic of it. It's a very kind of predictable Gothic plot. I think it borrows quite a lot, well, kind of, it's influenced by Italian Gothics of the 1960s and 70s, but I love those, so that's fine. I really enjoyed it. And Candyman 2021. Those are my top 10 from that challenge. My runners-up from that challenge would be The Others. I can't believe I haven't seen The Others before, but that was my first watch. Carl, which was an Indian film, another one. It's about like a killer tiger. So good. The Collector. So the first Collector film, The Collection, is the one I put in my top 10. Get Duked. That was so funny. The kind of poshos killing working class kids and working class kids evading them while doing their Duke of Edinburgh award. And Susie Izzard is in it, credited as Eddie Izzard and playing the Lord of the Manor. I thought it was just great. The Craft, I've never seen The Craft before. That is in my runners-up because I don't have the nostalgia around it. I think it's different when you're in the UK and you're an adult and you're watching a film that's obviously like made for American teens. You know, like I'm never gonna have that 90s experience of whenever it came out first. So yeah, I liked it a lot. It's in my runners-up. Scanners, I can't believe I haven't seen that one. David Cronenberg. That's my runners-up. Killer indie film, Pat Higgins. If you don't know who Pat Higgins is, he makes a lot of no budget, micro budget indie films, and they are in various ways and for various reasons absolutely incredible. So I would recommend that one. From the Dark, which is another Irish vampire one, love that. Things Heard and Seen, that was a great film. I won't be watching it again in a hurry, but it was technically a very great film. And Mirror Mirror, which is not the Snow White one. Mirror Mirror is a demon trapped in a mirror. And a girl, kind of like a teen girl, has this antique mirror, and then, you know, there's a raven involved, and it's just very atmospheric. There's a second one. The second one's not so good, but yeah, no, I like that one. Top 10 from 2023. That was the year that I discovered my comfort film, The Torture Chamber of Dr. Sadism, 1967. So I'll be forever grateful for 2023 for that. The Church, 1989, amazing Italian film, kind of apocalyptic, kind of weird fiction, Lovecraftian-esque, but also Catholic. Like, yeah, just highly enjoyable. Cthulhu, that was the Dan Gildark film, 2007. Gay tragedy, but also The Shadow over Innsmouth. It's called Cthulhu because I think Cthulhu is the most famous part of the mythos, and the cult is the cult of Cthulhu in this film, but it's The Shadow over Innsmouth is what the story actually is. So the director has it up on his YouTube channel, so you can just watch it for free. I'd recommend doing that. It's worth a watch. Trigger warnings abound for that one, and as I say, it's a tragedy. Yeah, it goes very Carmilla, I guess. But yeah, it's yeah, no, I like that one. I think it's one of the better Lovecraftian adaptations I've seen. Under the Shadow definitely makes it onto the top 10 of 2023. That was great. Again, sort of an unexploded bomb goes through an apartment building during the Iran-Iraq War. And yeah, the sort of idea of are there jinn attached to it as well? Yeah, very creepy. Terrified, Atarados, 2017. Loved that film. That was 2020. 2023 was a banger of a year. His House, 2020. Loved that one. That was really good. Recommend that. Vampire, 2021, which I recommend to everybody who's into vampire films. That's kind of Serbian. The kind of thing with that is that because it's set in Serbia, only the main character speaks English and the main character does not speak Serbian. So none of the Serbian is subtitled for you because he doesn't understand what's being said. And so unless you speak Serbian, you shouldn't either. And so he's kind of in this village and he doesn't know what they're saying, and he doesn't know if they're kind of talking about him or if they mean harm to him or what. And there's obviously some sort of conspiracy in the village there, and he doesn't know what it is, and he's there to look after a graveyard. And yeah, it's really good. I really like that film. It's a great take on the vampire. Talk to me. What a film. What a class film. That to me just seems like what Australian teenage years are like. I could fully believe that that is what Australian teens get up to. Ile Owu, or House of Money, is a Nigerian film. That's number 9, 2022 film, in the vein of the monstrous suitor of African mythology that pops up across the continent in different forms. But yes, this is a Nigerian film, and I really liked it. It's low budget, I think, but I just had so much fun with it. I've watched it multiple times. If you like fairy tales, you like dark fairy tales, and you don't mind sort of lower budget type films, with, you know, like the effects aren't amazing. They're good, but they're good for the money. They're not fantastic. You know, if you don't care about that, give that a go. I loved it. And Incantation, finally, 2022. Again, they're not in an order of rank or how much I liked them. They're just in order of release, because I loved Incantation. That was easily one of the top films I've seen in a long time. Runners up include Damien McCarthy's Caveat, which is the one he did before Oddity. Bloodflower, which is an Indonesian film, again, sort of, that's got trigger warnings for quite a lot of things. Deathline, which is a 1970s kind of older film with Michael Gambon and Christopher Lee. Absolutely loved that one. Absolute class. Older Gods, which is the indie kind of Lovecraftian film, one of the better Lovecraftian films I've seen. The Block Island Sound, which I really like that. And I kind of like the whole eco-horror premise. Renfield, absolutely brilliant. That was a comfort film of mine for a while. Meg 2, that was my first time in an everyman cinema, and I ordered a cocktail. I had a sofa to myself, loads of cushions, and I sat down. It was me and 2 guys behind me, and the rest of the theatre was totally empty. And they ordered some food, and I had my cocktail, and we just watched a big fucking shark. It was great. That is on my list. That was just a fantastic cinema experience. The Empty Man, another kind of Lovecraftian culty one. Not my top 10, but it does stand up to a few rewatches, and I do like it, so it's a runner-up. The Wasteland, Spanish film, also quite weird, allegorical. Really enjoyed it, but that's definitely a runner-up. And of course, there has to be a Jean Rollin film in there somewhere. This time it's Fascination. I can't believe I haven't seen Fascination before, because it's one of his like more acclaimed films, or most acclaimed films. But I haven't, and there we go. It's a runner-up for me. 2024 top 10, if you're still with us. Thank you for sticking around. Leptiricha, I think, 1973, which is just this really cool folk horror. I now own it on DVD, thanks to the Severin Films box set, the folk horror box set, which I absolutely love, that I got for Christmas. So that's a really good one. That's another vampire one. 7 Deaths in the Cat's Eye, 1973, an Italian giallo gothic type film that is set in Scotland, and everybody is dubbed, even though they're all speaking English to begin with, and I think that's because everybody has a different accent naturally. So it's absolutely great. I love it. This is another of my comfort films, actually. And it's got a guy in a gorilla suit instead of having a real gorilla as the laird has a gorilla as a pet, but he doesn't. He has a guy in a gorilla suit, and it's just it's great. The Savage Hunt of King Stark in 1979, which is Belarusian, when Belarus was part of the USSR. Yeah, so a very anti-monarchist, anti-aristocracy. I think it's supposed to be translated as The Wild Hunt, because that's literally the title in Russian. Um, but for some reason it's translated as The Savage Hunt, and like, no, The Wild Hunt is a thing, and The Wild Hunt is featured in the film. So yeah, so I don't know what the English translated title's doing there, but yeah, that's very good. Fangs, that was when I watched Fangs, 1981, the Egyptian Rocky Horror remake. Born of Fire, 1987. That is set in Turkey, in the Travertines in Cappadocia, I think. And it's got a djinn in it, but it's by a Pakistani director, a British Pakistani director. There's just such a lot going on with that film. It's great. It's kind of, I don't know, like, it's such a mixture of things. It's folk horror, it's weird fiction, it's end of the world stuff, it's cults, it's music, it's sort of folklore fantasy. I loved it. I would watch that again so many times. Saloom 2021, absolute banger of a film. I loved this so much. It's action, and then it does that 180 on you and becomes a completely different genre in the middle. So it kind of does the From Dusk Till Dawn thing, like, oh, is it a heist film? It's a kidnapping film, it's a drama. Oh God, vampires. In this case, it's, an action drama. And then, oh my God, evil spirits. Loved it. Good Madam 2021. I love this one as well. This is a South African film, sort of looking at the kind of impact of apartheid and the aftermath of apartheid. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good, really interesting. Irish film You Are Not My Mother 2021, coming in at number 8. Folk horror, but set in like an urban setting, which is not one that you usually see sort of fae things set in, or fair folk setting. So I really like that one. Number 9, Fanga, also known as Belle 2023. It's an Icelandic set version of Beauty and the Beast, directed by Max Gold. And the cinematography is great because Iceland does all of the heavy lifting by itself. But it's very low budget. And I thought they got around the, we can't afford a fursuit for the Beast or CGI really, really well by having the Beast be a man, just a normal, hairy bloke in a cave. But he's cursed to be kind of immortal, and also he has a trigger, and when that trigger is tripped, he becomes kind of like an unstoppable savage cannibal, and he doesn't remember what he does or why it happens, but that's what happens. If something happens, and then he will just, so he lives on his own, and he guards a magic flower, and there is a sorceress, and it's a fantasy. It's like a very dark fantasy, but I think it counts as horror as well. It is classed as horror, and I really enjoy it. If you like those sort of low budget horror takes on fairy tales, it's in that genre, of like Cinderella's Curse and all the rest of them. Oddity 2024, number 10. Loved that film so much. What a banger. Damien McCarthy is doing great things. I've seen Hokum in the cinema. That was fantastic. I think he's fast becoming the director that I would just automatically go buy a ticket to see whatever he's made. Runners-up include Impetigore, Indonesian film, absolute banger. Queen of Black Magic, Indonesian film, absolute banger. Le Vaudelac, a French take on the short story by, what's his name, guy who wrote War and Peace, Tolstoy. Yeah, I liked it. I loved the fact that they used a puppet for the Vaudelac. That was just phenomenal. Like, great work, guys. I love a creepy puppet. Huesera, the Bone Woman. Love that sort of lesbian awakening. Or, bisexual, I'm not sure, but like very queer, very sapphic, very, very cool. I like that a lot. Black Circle, really weird. If you like weird stuff with, like weird fiction stuff with music as a theme, Black Circle is great. That's a good one. Daddy's Head. What a weird film. Not one of the weirdest I've seen, but I really like that as well. That's kind of grief horror. British grief horror. Grave Torture, Indonesian film. Again, love that. Beast, by an Icelandic director I quite like. He directed Apex. It's set in Australia. It is Apex, yes. So it's the same director as that, but Beast is the one with Idris Elba in it. Absolute cracking film. I love that a lot. Attachment, which is a Danish film, lesbians, possession. That's great. Loved it. Yeah, it's just really, really good. Raging Grace, which is a British film with a Filipino protagonist and her daughter. Her daughter's called Grace. There was a part of it where you realise something, and like when I realised what was going on, like my stomach just dropped, and I knew it was coming, and then like it was made explicit and my stomach just dropped, and I was like, oh no. Like, yeah, so I thought that was just really good. Recommend. Top 10 for 2025 last year then. Here we go. Audition 1999. Some J-horror. Really liked Audition. That was well fun. Very, very gory. But yeah, I just enjoyed that. Basque film All the Moons 2020. That one is another vampire film, and I really liked it. Very similar to one that I'm surprised I didn't put on here, but I guess it just wasn't in my head at the time, so fair enough. That's what it's called. It's very similar to You Won't Be Alone 2022, which is like Macedonia. It's in Macedonian. The director is Australian Macedonian, I think. Yeah, that one was great. But I'm surprised I didn't put that on my list, but there we go. But I think All the Moons is very similar to that in some ways. There's some very similar themes, apart from the fact that You Won't Be Alone is witch based and All the Moons is vampire based and Basque. In My Mother's Skin, oh my god, that was great. Like a fantasy horror set in World War II in the Philippines. Filipino film, 2023. Just great. I think that is definitely one I would recommend. Best Wishes to All, 2023. Another J-horror, but also like a bit of a alternative universe, Japan. It's just got this really interestingly weird premise. Really enjoyed it. Home for Rent 2023 Thai film. When I started it, I was like, why is this film over 2 hours long? Why are we doing this to ourselves? Why is this necessary? Then I realised it was broken up into 3 chapters. After the first chapter, I was like, okay, yeah, no, but I still don't get why it's 2 hours long. Then we got the second chapter and I was like, oh my god. Okay, no, yes, I can see why we need all this time. We need more time, in fact. I want more time with these characters. I need to know more about what's going on. I loved this film. I thought it was great. Definitely one of the best films I've seen in 2025 for sure. It Lives Inside 2023. This is a US film which is kind of like Indian American, as in like from the country of India American, and it's kind of about so it's a kind of an immigrant story, as well as being like, kind of wanting to assimilate versus keeping alive your traditions from home and from a country that isn't your home, but is kind of following you anyway, like that sort of experience, being Hindu and having those sorts of differences to your other American classmates who are, white American or don't have any kind of understanding perhaps of Hinduism, or, coming from a mainstream Hindu culture into a mainstream Christian culture and that kind of thing, and like wanting to assimilate, but also being stalked by demons from your homeland. I think like that's just really, really interesting. Especially because the main character really wants her homeland and thinks of her homeland as being the USA, whereas her parents don't think that, because they have, I just found that really interesting to watch. I found it a really interesting film overall. I would like that. I like that one a lot. The Mugai 2024. This one was a hard watch because I don't like bad things happening to babies, and a lot of stuff happens to this poor child. Yeah, so it was a hard watch, but it's also like looks at Aboriginal folklore and looks at that sort of contrasting experience that you get from like a black Australian family versus like a white Australian middle class family, I guess. The Ugly Stepsister 2025 Norwegian film, absolutely brutal body horror. What on earth? Yeah, the parasite thing really got me. Sinners 2025, of course, you knew that was coming. That was just a fantastic film all round. I know there's lots of stuff about Sinners that I just didn't get because the references don't travel, and I don't know enough about America to get everything culturally, but like I was really interested in the discourse around that film as well, and had all of this like discussion online. I found all of that fascinating, and then when I watched the film I was like, oh yeah, this is, just an objectively really good film anyway. Even without, knowing kind of stuff, I think I would have really enjoyed it. The Surrender 2025, number 10. The Surrender, really enjoyed that one as well. It's another US film. Kind of another grief horror one. Really liked it. Runners up include Bridge Curse Ritual. I saw, I think, all of the Bridge Curse films, but that one was the best for me. Ms. Kanyen, which is a Nigerian horror. Rita and La Llorona, which is both by the same director. Both really enjoyable. Well, not enjoyable. Neither of them particularly like enjoyable, but both of them very, very good films. Don't Say Its Name, which is like an Indigenous film from Canada, I think a First Nations film. I really enjoyed that. That was kind of low budget, but yeah, definitely deserves to be a runner-up. Strange Darling, I like that. Runner-up. The Beast Must Die. There's a 70s film that I can't believe I haven't seen before, werewolf film, with like the werewolf break where you can guess who the werewolf is, and I got it wrong. But it's got loads of like really good actors in it. The Monkey is a runner-up. I enjoyed that one. That's by the director of Longlegs, Osgood Perkins. Really enjoyed it. Ma, M-A-A, which is an Indian film. I really like that one. It's kind of Kali centered. Kali is kind of protector, goddess. I've really enjoyed it. Boys from County Hell is also a runner-up, but one of my favourites in terms of horror comedies. Like, that one made me cry with laughter. And there are so many more than these runners-up that I should have included. I liked so many of them from my lists, and I'm sure that if I was in a different frame of mind when I had made the lists here, I would have put in different films. Like, I thought, oh, why haven't I put in this film? Why haven't I put in that film? But there we go. I have spoken. That is it. That is my 4 years, 467 films, my look back at 100 horror movies in 92 days. And so we are going to go on to this year, 2026, and I'm going to do like a little roundup of all the films I've seen each week and pick my film of the week. I don't know how I'm going to manage this because it's basically going to be like a live recording almost, because I won't have time to edit it properly before I release it, if I'm going to do one a week. And I'll probably skip some weeks. I can't promise that I'm going to release an episode on the same day every week. I have no idea, guys, how this is going to work, but bear with me. And we'll just give it a go, I reckon. So thanks for listening. I hope that you'll join us for 100 horror movies in 92 days. Can't wait to get started. Bye for now.